Welcome back to Talkin Shop with ShopSabre. This is the podcast that is all about the realities of business. We're going to dive into business ownership, manufacturing, all the little things that go along with it. Today's episode is all about handling your business, and it's kind of a play on words because it's all the things that go along with, what are you nodding your head about over there? It's all the things that go with understanding the right and wrong way to handle materials that you work with every single day. As always, I'm your host, Brandon Bombardo, here with Nick in the middle, Nick Peters. And we have a special guest today, Nick.
We do.
We have Eric from Schmalz.
Thank you for having me, Brandon. This is awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. I was going to say your last name. That was originally my plan, and then I realized I'm going to screw it up.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's Kollmansberger.
Kollmansberger.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, I knew I was going to mess that up. I was committed. I was like, I'm going to say it, and I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. So
it's a good conversation piece, though.
It is, though.
Like, no one ever forgets.
You can't forget your name.
So
the nice thing is I can't spell it, but when I need to email you, I just start typing letters and it finds you every time. It's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's good.
Don't know many people that have names that start with those couple letters. So
right.
Where's that country of origin for that name?
Germany.
There.
Felt Germish.
All right.
Germish?
Germish.
You didn't wash your hands or what?
Very Germish. I think a lot of people came over when they cut their names down the middle.
Right.
Or they would do Coleman or Cole, but
not you.
Not so lucky.
You were like, we'll take all of the letters.
All of them.
That's awesome. So yeah, we have Eric here today because Eric, you're with Schmalz. And for anybody who doesn't know what Schmalz is, it's a lift company.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys lift things.
Vacuum lifts.
Yeah. I mean, as you can see from Eric's arms, they lift things. There it is.
He doesn't use a lift. He just lifts the sheet.
No, right? He does lift. Right. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm excited to talk about this because I think it's an often overlooked piece of the business, Eric. Don't you agree?
I do agree.
Because you go into a lot of shops.
Yes.
And I would say most shops you go into don't have anything initially, right?
A lot of times, yeah. You know, it's not really talked about initially because it's harder to quantify as far. We're not necessarily like producing a product like your CNC.
Right.
So a lot of times it gets forgotten about. They get to CNC and then, you know, they realize, gosh, lifting these heavy sheets is kind of a pain in the butt.
Right.
So and that's where we come into play. But you're right. A lot of times when I'm visiting shops, they don't necessarily have a lift right away. So it's, you know, something that you want to talk about and get them kind of sold on the benefits of pretty much like having another person there.
Right.
Is what it's like.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about it today because we're going to talk about, you know, lifting and handling and the pros and cons and choosing the right one for your shop. We'll talk about all that stuff. But as always, we like to jump into a little segment, questions and comments. And Nick, I know you said you brought a few today, correct?
I do have 3 of them today.
3 of them today. So we're going to chat about those. I mean, I know you got some for me, and I may even, I'm guessing you went topical again because you did that last episode.
I tried to do, yeah.
Yeah, so we may pull you in, Eric, for some feedback or your opinion. So fire away, though, Nick. What do you got for me, Nick, in the middle?
All right, question number 1. When considering shop efficiency, the lift systems will ultimately slow me down from naturally loading and unloading.
I guess I would say that's 100% wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, jump in.
Well, I think
you're the professional here.
I think a lot of times a guy can always like wrestle a sheet faster than use a vacuum lift, right? But is it safe and is he doing it properly?
Right.
And can he do that over the course of 8 hours?
And that's where I was going to go with it, is that 100% right that if the question was, I got to load one sheet,
right,
ever. Yeah, you're probably not going to need a lift. Like, and honestly, I don't think Eric's going to want to sell you a lift. If you tell him you are going to lift one sheet, he's not going to probably even sell you a lift. But the reality of it is, and I laughed because you started off with, it's not proper. And I heard half our customers go, don't care about proper, you know, like, because the reality is we're small mom and pop shops and we just do what we have to get by. But the reality of what we're looking at here is it actually speeds things up because as a shop, you're repetitive. You're doing things in order and you're going to continue to do it and you have to repeat it. You know, I'm going to use cabinetry as an example. You're cutting a kitchen and you have 20 to 30 to 40 sheets of material. I ask, how fast can you load 40 sheets? Because the 40th sheet somehow weighs 3 times as much as the first sheet.
Exactly.
Especially when you're built like me. Like they wear you out really fast. And I just remind people of that because one of the biggest differences in manually loading versus using vacuum is the fact that the lift can keep up.
Right.
And the speed stays consistent all day long. And I mention this because here at ShopSabre, we actually have one of your lifts. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, appreciate
you
that.
helped us get one set up for our business. And we have a ShopSabre that we use in production every single day. And we used to load those manually. And I remember you walking through and you're like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Like, you can speed this up. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way. We installed that lift, and that next week we noticed an immediate ROI.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, we're getting more out the next week than we ever have. So it's incredible how much that is. So the answer to the question is couldn't be further from the truth, and we'll dive into that a little bit more here in the future. So
Number 2.
okay.
Loading your machine is only a fraction of the time the machine runs. Do you really think there is an ROI on this?
And that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. Yeah, there's absolutely, the entire shop is limited by how much or how quickly you can produce parts on your machine.
Right.
And as it says, like, the fraction of the time loading is the side that actually is the part that dictates the machine speed a lot of times. Like, how fast can you be up and running? Because I always ask shop owners, do you make money when the machine's cutting, or do you make money when the machine's sitting idle?
Right.
It's when it's cutting. So the sooner you get material on and off,
Yep.
the more material you can turn out, the more money you're going to
Isn't that what you CNC guys call chip to chip time?
Yeah,
right?
correct. Yeah, chip to chip time. It's exactly it. Because really, machines are doing you no good when they're sitting still. So you want them running as fast as you can. And again, going back to speed from last week's episode, it's not about running 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, because most people don't have the demand for it. But if your customer is paying you a set flat rate for the job, right? Rarely do you see a job that you're quoting and you're like, I'm going to quote you 20 to 30,000. It depends on how fast I can run my machine.
Right.
Like, you don't. You just tell them, like, hey, your proposal is $26,000. It's all in, everything we're doing. So if you can get that job done in 25% less time, you just make more money because you're spending less time doing it.
Yeah.
Well, and this might not necessarily be an ROI thing, but
Yeah.
isn't it also going to cut down on the risk of injuries and
Yeah,
downtime
right.
with an
Yeah,
employee?
that's one thing I wanted to touch on too. We're not even talking about injuries,
Right.
So, I mean, I think the average workman's comp claim I was looking up the other day is between $50,000 to $80,000 for like an average back injury, and that's like a direct cost. That doesn't account for time off for the employee,
Right.
retraining another employee. I mean, that is all a lot of costs at companies that I don't think a lot of people take into account right away.
Well, and that's exactly it. Now, let's go one step further, because people are like, oh, I'm not going to do work comp because I'm a single owner, right? Well, if you hurt your back and you can't lift anymore, who's creating your product now?
Right.
Your business is essentially out of business until you get better, right?
Zero income.
Zero income now. So there's a real factor that has to be thought about there as you start picking up speed. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon, I get a lot of calls too from people that have had a CNC like yours for quite a while. Just talking to a ShopSabre customer the other day, it's like, I'm old. I've been doing this my whole life.
Right.
I don't want to do it anymore.
right,
And I'm like, nor should you.
Yeah. Right.
So it takes some people a little longer to come around, but it's awesome when they do. And when they do, a lot of times when we go to shows, they come back and they're like, oh, I'm so glad I don't have to lift those
Right.
anymore.
Right.
Well,
CNC Sean's a perfect example of that. We have Sean Morley, who many of you have seen in our videos, and he's a customer of ours. As I've said many times, he owns his own cabinet shop, and he actually bought one of your lifts down in Vegas.
he's a good dude.
Yeah, him and it was his wife that, basically was like, you're going to do this because you're not going to, hurt yourself and do this the rest of your life. So he ended up buying it, and he has a 9-year-old, and his 9-year-old can load his machine.
Yeah.
Because the lift does everything, right? Like, his 9-year-old helps him, in the shop, and has fun with it. But it's like, that shows you how little effort it takes to lift a sheet,
Right.
because if a 9-year-old can do it,
Yeah.
so
We need to get that 9-year-old to do some marketing videos.
right, that we need to get him in the video probably. So, we get all the questions?
I've got one more.
Oh, one more. Okay.
Yep. Why should one choose a vacuum lift over a forklift?
This is actually a perfect example of why we did it. We used to use forklifts a lot. We bring the forklift in and you try to slide sheets off of it, and it works. But for one, sometimes the forklift can be the right solution. Let me start there. Like, right, there's certain materials, certain things you're going to do. Like, live edge is a perfect example, right? It's heavy. Your vacuum lifts, you're usually not using vacuum lifts to lift live edge. Maybe you are. Maybe there's something out there for it. But most people are using a forklift, something, to handle those weird shaped, weird materials. But for us, like, the thing that I will say is sometimes the forklift just can't get to where it needs to get.
Well, that, and you still have to slide the product.
Right.
I mean, you're still talking about damaging the product. And not only are we talking about lifting, but pushing, pulling, and twisting
Right.
accounts for a ton of back injuries as well.
Is that not how you're supposed to lift everything? Is with your back twisting and pulling, right? Like I thought that was the answer. But no, it's exactly it. Because, but my thing is a lot of these shops that we go into, there's not a lot of extra free room.
No.
Right? You've got the machine, you got your production, you got everything going on. And it's like, where does the forklift fit?
Yeah.
Getting it in there is not always easy. So, having the lift, they're really compact.
Yep.
I mean, anybody who wants to see a lift in person can come to ShopSabre. We'll tour the plant. We'll show you it. But you could see our lift, and you'll see that it's centrally located where our machine is. And we have material all the way around the machine. A forklift could not get in there if it wanted to.
Right.
And so the lift it does a 180-degree swing. Am I right? 180?
I mean, it'll go like 280.
Yeah, but I think ours is like 180.
You can
I think.
set limits on.
I think we have ours set to 180.
Yep.
And you can literally get all of the plethora of materials all the way around it. And that one operator just swings it into place, lifts it up, away you go. We have a really good bloopers segment of Hunter, one of our sales guys. He's no longer at ShopSabre. They moved back to their home state when they were expecting their child. So hi, Hunter, if you're watching. But Hunter crashed the lift right into the machine, or the material into the machine, because he was just swinging it around and got all crazy with it. And but it was awesome because like we all laughed about it because we're like, he said, he was like, dude, I expected to have to lift.
Right.
So that's what got him in trouble is he went to go lift. It was the first time he ever used it. And it doesn't take any strength. So when you pull, it moves. It was like throwing a sheet across the room. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's weightless. Some people do think that it's a lift assist. And I'm like, no, it'll pick it for you.
Right.
You're running the machine. There is no assisting it.
Yeah, you're not using
Please don't assist.
Yeah, don't assist. Do not assist. Trust me, I've seen it with my own eyes. But yeah, that's 3. You said 3.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let's jump back into the topic here because we've talked about lifts now for the entire episode. We were, fortunate enough to have some good questions here. So thank you, everybody. As always, if you have questions, or comments that you want to share with us, make sure you leave them in the comment section, or you can email us, sales@shopsabre.com or marketing@shopsabre.com. We'll always try to address them. But let's start off with Schmalz, right? Like it's based out of where?
Germany.
Okay.
And the U.S. location is Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, perfect. So Germany is the headquarters.
Yes.
And then Raleigh, North Carolina is our U.S. home base, right?
We only hire German people, which is why Kollmansberger got hired. I'm kidding, of course. But the president is German.
That's awesome.
So
yeah. And I'm going to piggyback on that, though. They also sell German pumps with it because you have Becker pumps on there.
True.
And those are out of Germany as well. So kind of cool. But I will say the quality is unlike anything I've seen. I mean, I've looked at a lot of, before we started working with you guys, we worked with a lot of different, solutions. Yeah. And we're like, what is the noise going on?
I thought it was a tornado siren. At first,
No,
but
I think it's definitely not.
The desk?
There is something going on out there. I can hear a noise. So if you can hear that, we're sorry. But what I was saying is like, there's a lot of companies to choose from when it comes to lifts. Like there's more than I was realizing.
Yeah.
But the thing that stood out about you guys to me is, for one, it's the value. You're getting something for a price to me that seems too cheap. Yeah. Just gonna be honest. Like I think for what you guys are offering, it's really affordable. And
most of our customers would not agree with you, Brandon.
Oh, that's funny. I guess most of your customers probably haven't looked to the level I have.
Right.
They might see yours and, oh my God, it's going to cost me how much? Yeah. But I mean, realistically, we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No. And when I threw out that figure on the workman's comp average, I mean, when you're talking like 80,000, that's right. A fraction of that.
Correct.
Tube lifter. I mean, we're talking 20.
Yeah.
Like right in the 20s.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I'm like, let's throw the price out there because people are now going, well, how much are they? They're $20,000.
And that's with a crane.
Right. That's everything.
Yes.
And that's what I don't think people realize is like for $20,000, it doesn't take you long to recoup that cost.
No. And like I said, that is like having an employee out there.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I like the most about, and I made some notes here, of course, that I like about your lift systems is that it's an all-encompass solution. I don't have to go like, okay, now I bought this, I have to go source my own pump, or I have to go deal with, like, you guys give me the crane specs.
Yep.
I can buy the crane from you, or I can provide my own. You guys had given me that option. The pump, you gave me the pump with it. You gave me all the different attachments, right? You guys said, what are you lifting, Brandon? We showed you the material. You said, okay, this is the attachment you need to lift that.
Yeah.
You have different levels right? And that's what's cool is like, depending on how heavy your material is, there's different levels, A, B, C, whatever you want to call it, right? And we went with, is ours called the Ergo 85? Is that
I
correct?
think it's the Ergo 85,
Yeah.
which is a real, very, very common one for the cabinet industry.
That's what I thought. So, like, and that's what we run. And the thing I want to talk about on our end is let's, talk about the difference between manually loading, using a lift assist, or in our case, we sell a machine called the auto loader machine, right? We now have our ISA. And let's talk about that technology, because for us, every shop's need is different. And that's why we sell good, better, best, right? Like you have some different solutions in terms of equipment.
Right.
But everything that stays consistent on every machine is that you have to load it. Right. Like at some point, the material has to get on the machine. And so whether you're loading it by picking the material up and setting it on the table, whether you're using a lift to set it on the table, or on the ISA situation, you set the whole bunk of material behind it and it loads it on there, but it uses its own vacuum lift, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of shops, the auto loaders don't make sense. And the reason is it's floor space.
Floor space.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, you're talking about a machine that's going to take up the space of 3 machines.
Because, basically, when you have loading and unloading, now you have basically 3 CNC footprint.
Right.
Because you have to have that same amount for the beginning, and then machining, and then unloading. So they take up a ton of space. But the auto loaders are cool. I mean, they definitely have their place in our production.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely not in the market we're trying to play in.
Right. And that's what I try to explain to people is that, like, a lot of people see the value in a loader unloader, but they don't have the space. They don't have the volume.
Right.
There's a reason why the loader unloader just doesn't make sense for them. And I am the worst sales guy in the world, because I always tell people, you probably don't need to buy that. Like
I do the same thing.
Like I do it because I'm honest with people, and like it's probably a fault to me, because I probably could sell more equipment by just telling people, oh yeah, you're going to make so much more money. But like when I see a shop that doesn't, a 1-2 man shop, and they're like, oh, we got to have a loader unloader. Like I start talking volume with them, and I'm like, no, and my thought to those companies is your better investment is buy a manual machine, right? Buy one that's one of our lines, our IS machine as an example, and then add a Schmalz lift. Because if you're worried about the back side of things, you don't want to hurt your back, you don't want to, have to load things, there's a solution without taking up floor space, without adding more budget. Because, I mean, you can get into an IS machine and a Schmalz lift for sub 80.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a loader unload machine, and you're $100,000.
Yeah.
So it's like you save money, you still remain efficient, and it gives you the room for growth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there you go, right? For that price, then you kind of have auto loading.
Right.
Or semi.
You do. I mean, you literally, it's rather than auto loading, right? Because it's not going to automatically go pick it up, but you have assist loading.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we call it assist, right? You're not assisting it, it's assisting you.
Correct.
And it's taking the burden off of you. Yeah. And, you talk about developing a plan for your business. And this is that developing that plan. Maybe, and the thing I love about the Schmalz lift side of things, you can't buy a CNC machine and then say, I'm going to add auto loader later on.
Yeah.
Like it makes it really difficult to do that, right? Can you? Certain machines allow you to do it, but you're going to spend a fortune. And I'll tell you what, I've heard so many horror stories about people trying to do that. That's why ShopSabre doesn't offer a retrofit auto loader, right? But you can add, say the budget doesn't allow for a Schmalz lift up front. And I'm talking to a lot of you customers out there who've bought IS machines or pro machines or whatever in the past. And you're like, you know what? I'm tired of lifting sheets. Just like what Sean said. Yeah. Sean's owned a ShopSabre for, God, I don't even know now. It's been probably close to 15 years or maybe a little under that. But he added the Schmalz lift just in the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, so for many years he ran without one to build his business. And, it just didn't fit his budget at the time, or maybe he just didn't know it existed. But at some point it fit his budget, his production, his speed, and he's like, you know what, this is the right decision for my business. You could still add it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the Schmalz lifts. And it's a way to upgrade your shop without having to change everything.
Right. And also, Brandon, just to touch on that too, like they can be added at any time. And let's say they add a vacuum lift and they get different product in the future. We can also change heads on them.
Right.
We can do all kinds of stuff. We always have customers coming back. We have this new product we want to run now. And maybe it doesn't work with the old style head. Maybe we got to go to a 4-cup. Maybe we got to add a PSC or something like that to it. And that's all stuff we can do after the fact as well.
Right.
So,
and that's what I want to talk about is that let's talk about, after the fact. Let's talk about speed. Let's talk about safety, right? Because for one, I want to get back to what we talked about earlier is the speed of your machine or the speed of your production a lot of times relates to the speed of your loading.
Yeah.
You know, getting the sheets on the material, so you're on the machine. And I always laugh because like everybody talks about how strong they are and how fast they can load.
Right.
But like I always say, okay, cool. That's Monday morning at 8:00.
Yeah.
Now you're cutting all day, every day for a week.
Yeah.
How fast are you on Friday at 2:00?
Yeah. I bet not very.
And then think about your employees. How motivated are they at 2:00 on a Friday?
Right.
Right? Or whatever time you close, right? There's not the same motivation, right?
No.
And so the speed slows down. Where when it's weightless, right? When it doesn't have that fatigue on you, it's just running through the motion. It becomes repetition.
Right.
Doing it's easy.
Right.
So you for one, your employee wants to stay because they're not worn out. Two, it's what you've talked about. You had brought an interesting fact. We talked off the air a little bit before, but you had brought up an interesting fact about injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of our customers that run first, second, third shifts or whatever.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is you had a statistic that it's something like 30%. Is that right? Then
So like 18, it jumps up to like 18% on like second shift over first shift, and up to 30 on third shifts for accidents.
So there's 30% more accidents on third shift than there is first shift. And I think a lot of that has to do with fatigue.
It's absolutely
Right? Because it's late at night for one.
Absolutely.
Like your body, like
Yeah.
I worked third shift at a previous job. And I'll tell you right now, on third shift, you don't sleep as much as first shift. I don't care how much you think you're gonna.
It's the worst.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. And you lose like situational awareness, I
Right.
think is the big thing when you're
Right.
tired. You don't like identify hazards. You
Right.
don't, the brain just kind of goes to this very simplistic thinking.
Yeah. And there's a reason why when you look at a lot of like professions, they have limitation on hours, right?
Yes.
Like
Yep.
when you look at pilots as an example, or
Truck
like
drivers.
Truck drivers.
Yes.
They limit it because it's not because you can't do it. It's because there's a direct connection between your awareness and your ability to, stay connected at the level of performance you should.
Right.
And so the same should be thought about in your daily, how many business owners run 12 to 14 to 16 hour days? There's a lot of them.
Right.
I mean, that's the heart of America, right? Like how many business owners I talk to on a daily basis, like heck, I used to talk about it on the show all the time that there's 24 hours in the day and I'd use every one of them if I have to. And when we were a younger company, I did. I remember some videos that we shot after hours because we had to do our job all day. And then I had to shoot a video on what we were doing. And there's days that I worked 20 to 22 hours.
Yeah.
And I'd go home for an hour or two and then come back to work and start over. And I think to myself now, like when I was younger, I could do it. Okay. For one, that was a lot easier. But two, if something really like needed my attention that next day, how aware was I?
Right.
And it's like, now you think about an owner loading your material for 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
How much fatigue that puts in your back, your muscles, just how much you feel. And I think that the eye opener to me was when we got our lift, the operator of our machine came up to me the next week and thanked me. He was like, "Thank you so much for buying that lift." He says, "I didn't even realize how much stress my body was under until this week when I'm not feeling pains I was feeling forever. And I just thought it was me getting old."
Yep.
He's like, "I think it was from lifting material this whole time." He's like, "I was just fatigued." Right. And I was like, well, that's the point, is we don't want you fatigued. Right. And he's like, "Well, I didn't know it. I would have spoke up if I'm like, yeah, you got to say something. Right.
Right.
But like, we didn't know, right? Because we've just been doing it and it works. Right.
You just kind of get used to it, right? You're doing that job every day for so long that you're just like, oh, this is kind of how my body.
Part of my job. Yeah.
It's the normal feel of your body, and that's kind of how it is.
You know, and some people look at it as kind of an ego thing. Like, I don't need that thing.
Right.
Lift. And it's like, no, dude, take it. And then if you still want to go lift, then go to a gym and do the fun lifting.
Right.
So,
well, like you said, we talked about this too. Lifting sheets isn't sexy lifting.
No.
Right? It's
hot,
not
it's
fun.
not
It's like you're in a hot, sweaty environment. The shop's dirty, dusty. You're under a deadline. You're trying to get things done. You feel like you're falling behind. And now you're stressed over lifting stuff all the time.
You don't have a mirror on the wall you can watch yourself in.
Yeah, you don't have a YouTube channel set up. Just pumping. No.
cabinet shops need to get mirrors.
Right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Staring at yourself as you're lifting the sheet.
There we go.
But no, I mean, what goes wrong when you have fatigue is injury.
Yeah.
And injury costs everyone.
Yeah.
For one, it costs your employee, right? Because some employees never come back from it.
Right.
Right. After they hurt themselves, they're like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore.
No.
And so they quit. And what happens is you lose good employees simply over fatigue.
Yeah. And that's one of those kind of indirect costs
Right.
we mentioned when we were off air that people don't. I mean, employee retention is a huge thing.
Right.
And
Especially in today's world.
yeah. Yeah. And sometimes if you give maybe a younger operator a vacuum lift, sometimes if you get the real good operators, they take ownership of that,
Right.
man. And they love it. And they love their job a little more and they take it a little more seriously. And it's awesome because then they take ownership of the lifter and they learn how to run them so good. I walk into some of these places and they're way better than me. Like
I agree.
no, dude, you should be doing the like if we're doing a lunch and learn. I'm like, I kind of want that guy doing the
Right.
demo.
Agree.
Not me. You know,
It's weird because I love that you say that because it's an unspoken thing that like I sell these things too. And it's like, if I walk out on the floor and try to use that thing, I am so uncomfortable.
you got to warm up with it a little.
Yeah,
bit.
you kind of have to get that feel
little
for
bit,
it.
yeah.
But like, yeah, our guy out there, like how many times he's loading a machine and he's like this, he's like got his head turned talking to me.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, we're doing, and he just like, it's second nature. He walks over, sets it down.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if I don't have both eyes, both my hands and both my feet on it,
Yeah.
like we're going to be in trouble here.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like he's like, you know, one-handed, like just talking. And I'm like, dude, you're so good with that. But it becomes second nature because it's just like any other tool in your shop. Once you get used to it, it's like, how did I ever get by without this thing? You know?
Yeah, he's out there with like a soda holder in there drinking and
Right.
run it at the same time.
Right. I just think
I've
it's funny.
seen guys do that. It's almost like another hand for them.
Yeah, I told I was joking with our operator. I said no texting and lifting, like because like he's just so good that like he could be out there like texting. I'm like, it's just like driving. Don't do any of that, you know. But it's really, it takes so much pressure off your back. It speeds everything up. We've talked about it, but how fast your shop will run at 8 o'clock in the morning versus 4 in the afternoon, you'll notice a difference because people aren't as worn out.
Yep.
You know, and the biggest thing I guess that you know people probably aren't thinking about here is like, what's a common application? You know, and I think we've talked about cabinetry. That's really popular. We see a lot of people in the cabinetry industry using these lifts. But I don't know, Eric, is there another like industry that I'm not thinking about that like
Oh my gosh, we're everywhere.
everywhere?
Pharma, food, breweries.
Really?
Utapills Brewery here in Minneapolis. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it.
I haven't.
For lifting their kegs.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean,
I didn't even think about that.
No.
anything, any place that has manual lifting that's too heavy for an operator, we will figure out a way to pick it up and move it.
That's crazy.
So you have these videos too, that marketing videos that we do. I'll have to share some of these with you, Brandon, or tag you on LinkedIn or something. But you know, just like showing all this weird, funky stuff, you'll see something like a little tiny suction cup, maybe like on a robot picking chocolate covered strawberries. There's just so many different things out there.
I never even thought of that.
needs to be handled.
So really, it just comes down to like, forget about loading a machine by it's any sort of material handling.
Anything. Yeah.
That's wild.
But if we want to stick with wood, like, and kind of like the cabinet guys, you know, guys will use them obviously to load their CNC first of all.
Yeah.
But guys will also buy them to load, like if they have a nice slider. I've seen guys load like an Allendorf slider with it if they haven't made the decision, you know, to have a CNC, or they'll have the slider and maybe a vertical, and they'll position the crane so they can service a few machines.
So it's a good point. Like even if you're not in the market for CNC quite yet, right? You're moving yourself into that, and you're like, well, I don't need a lift. Like the lift still can assist you with what you're doing.
Sure.
The thing that I wanted to talk about in the world of, you know, other things you can do in your cabinet shop, it's now you've finished cutting, you unload the material, you put the boxes together, right? Because you assemble it in your shop or whatever. And I have, you know, customers that do display cases, things like that. These are big, heavy pieces of furniture now, right?
Yep.
And I have seen you guys use your lifts to actually pick the whole assembly up and then set them in the delivery trucks or set them onto the trailers. And it's like, think about how much easier that the chances of scratching it go down.
Right.
The chances of dropping it go down, right? Like you're in such a better spot for handling your material, especially when you're dealing with really expensive material.
Yeah.
One that I saw that kind of resonated with me is there was a countertop company.
Yep.
And you guys had a lift that was lifting the countertop material.
Yeah.
And that blew my mind because I'm like, you think of all the people doing Corian.
I know.
And they lift it onto their CNC machine. And I'm like, Corian can scratch so easy.
Right. And it's so heavy.
Right.
Stuff's incredible.
So you start thinking about the pre-finished stuff. And it's not like, not that you can't do MDF. So let me be clear. Like MDF's really popular too. But like, and that's what we do a lot with ours. Yep. But I think about, okay, if you scratch your MDF, you don't really care because you're going to cut it up, right? Yep. But if you scratch your pre-finished, you know, whatever exotic, you're probably going to be a little bit more PO'd.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And when you start getting to that level where you're dealing with exotics or expensive woods, or you start getting into countertop materials or stuff that like when it scratches, it's totaled.
Yeah.
Like sign makers. I think about the acrylic stuff you guys deal with.
Yeah.
Lifts can save you the anxiety of scratching your material because you lift it up and you place it. You're not sliding it.
Exactly. That's a super good point, Brian. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, so it's like something to think about because that's something that I've noticed our customers really brag about the most. So let's talk about rule of thumb. Like, what's the rule of thumb when you're selecting the right lift, Eric? Like, where do you see people trying to cut corners the most, or where do you think, like, from a rule of thumb, like, if I'm going to make a recommendation for, why do you choose a different product, or, again, you have the Ergo 6585. Where's the rule of thumb for knowing kind of where you fall into?
It's going to really come down to capacity, weight-wise, and then overall like size and functionality. Like if you also want to service like maybe a vertical panel saw and you want us to add a PSC on it, if you need to get
for people who don't know what that is, what's that mean?
PSC is like so to be able to get the sheet from horizontal to vertical.
Okay, so you can rotate the material.
Yep, all
Got it.
automatic. We call it a pneumatic swilling device.
Cool.
And that's been very, very popular within the cabinet industry because we still have guys that will keep their vertical panel saws still over in the corner to do maybe rework on or something. They still want to be able to go through a panel on.
You know how many times I hear from guys like, "Oh, I'm buying the CNC, but I'm keeping all this stuff." And it's funny because they all have the intention of using them.
Yeah.
And within a short amount of time, they end up selling everything else and just keeping the CNC.
It's real dusty,
but you're 100% correct, though. Is like, there are cases where people use them or keep them and they hey, I'm just going to do something on this real quick. Yeah. So knowing that your lift can assist you with that, and some guys, it might just fit your production, that way. And the reason I like that vertical thing, I'm glad you talked about that horizontal versus vertical, is some guys, the way they store their material.
That too.
Like they slide it in vertically, and so they can slide it out using the lift and it allows you to be more compact. And that's the thing. You think about a shop laying all your material down horizontally, how much more floor space you take up versus putting it on a vertical rack.
Right.
Well, now the vertical rack, you could still use the lifter and helps you move things easier. We're not sliding material everywhere and trying to now slide it out and then rotate it flat so you can get on the machine. Like let the lift help you do that.
Yeah. So size, capacity, and then where do we want to service in the shop to determine like what size of crane. So we should probably talk a little bit about cranes, I guess.
Let's talk about cranes.
Most of the time,
everybody likes a crane.
Most of the time, it's just going to be your little jib crane. When I say a jib, it's like a post that's anchored into the concrete and it's got a boom. We call it the arm, and that's what swings. Mm-hmm. So it almost swings all the way around. A lot of times guys will buy the adjustable stops to keep it maybe from hitting your dust collection or something like that in a building. Yep. Or we could go to a bridge system if they want to, like, let's say, service different parts of the shop from one end to the other. I've had guys do like a bridge system where they'll come down and service one machine, they'll slide it down and service another. And
I didn't even know you guys did that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and sometimes guys will do dual bridges, and they'll have one bridge system with a bridge and a vacuum lift serving one half, and then they'll have another bridge and a vacuum lift serving another half. So
that's cool.
It's just looking at the shop, figuring out what the ceiling looks like.
Is there a minimum height? Or do you guys have the ability to put some pretty short cranes?
That's a super good question, because I always feel like when we're dealing with a lot of times at cabinet shops, these guys the business develops sometimes in the yard of the homeowner.
Yep.
So
ShopSabre was born that way.
You're in the backyard. And you don't have the tall ceilings. I want to say we want to be roughly about 10 feet above the workpiece.
Okay.
We can do lower. It's really all about how high do I need to get that piece once I have it.
Yep.
And a lot of times with cabinets, it's only like kind of waist high.
Right. Yep.
So, we can get pretty low. We do have like low ceiling options as well.
You do? Okay, cool.
Like a low headroom type of crane.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
So basically, if you have a need, you should at least reach out because obviously Eric's got a solution. Eric, I will say that from a vendor standpoint, we've worked with a lot of vendors over the years, and your responsiveness is second to none. I love that when a customer needs something, you're quick to help them.
I appreciate that. Almost to the point of maybe it's kind of annoying, like that one day I was like calling you 2 minutes.
No, honestly, like I love it though, because the worst for me is when a customer needs help and you can't get a hold of the person that has the answer. Yeah. And it's not the case with you guys. Like I love that, and that's kind of what we pride ourselves on as well. And we're all human; things go wrong, stuff happens, and it's nice that when you feel like you need to get a hold of somebody, you can. And so that's something that really stands out about you guys as a company, you as a person. So again, if you guys got questions on that stuff, I think it's worth checking it out.
Can I piggyback on that real quick?
Yeah,
I just want to say also, I want to thank like the team of Schmalz too. We have engineers on staff. We have inside sales guys, and they all do just a phenomenal job at designing these machines.
Absolutely.
And sizing them for the correct load. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility for that engineer to look at the customer's product, design something that's going to safely and effectively move it without someone dropping something.
And that's the truth. I love that you plugged that, because that's a big thing I plug on the show all the time, is that I'm only as good as the people around me.
Yep.
And
I mean, I wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
I mean,
getting the CNC machine right is the same. Like our engineering team and our R&D, they get everything to the point where it works the right way. And that's what I love about Schmalz, is to your point, if you give them your application and you tell them what you're trying to do, they will right size it for you.
Yes.
They're not going to just sell you a cookie cutter lift and go, this will kind of work. Right. Like they're blunt. Like, because let's be honest, when I was buying a lift, we can call it out. I tried to be cheap, right? Hey, I'm going to go with the 65 because it's cheaper. And you're like, no, you're not. No. You're like, that's not going to work for them. Because we lift phenolic. And phenolic, as many of you are aware of, is very heavy, not fun to lift material. That's actually why we bought it, was for the phenolic lifts. And I'm like, oh yeah, we can do it with a 65. And Eric and his team were like, no, Brandon, you cannot. Like, can it? Probably.
Yeah.
Efficiently and safely? No.
Yeah.
So you're going to buy an 85.
Yeah.
And like, didn't love that it cost me a little bit more money, but like now, sure glad we didn't skip out.
Yeah.
Like it's worked. And we've had it for several years now.
Yeah.
And we've had zero issues with it. That's what I love about it. So I will plug you guys there. Like, awesome.
Thank you.
Runs literally 8 hours a day, 5 to 6 days a week. Sometimes it works multiple shifts depending on our production schedule. And it's
for what they are, they're kind of simplistic in a way. Like, so a lot of times if I'm dealing with a small cabinet shop and I'll go out there and I'm checking on them and do a little train or whatever, and I'm like, well, this will probably be the last time I ever see it, man.
Yeah.
Like, unless like you're going to be retired by the time that thing breaks.
Right.
I mean, you're going to maybe order some cups and a filter from me, but I'm probably not going to be coming out here. So.
Right. And that's exactly it. Like, you guys have to, like, it's a cool business model though, because like build something so good that they don't need me all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome. Like, it works really well. And I think there's so many success stories between ShopSabre and Schmalz working together. I mean, we have a lot of customers that, and again, Sean is a great advocate for it. So if you guys want to talk to a real customer, Sean's always willing to talk to people as well. But if you want to see one in action, AWFS is coming up.
It is.
You guys going to be there?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to be close by.
I think you guys, if I'm not mistaken, aren't you like around the corner?
We're 1601. We're
Are you
close
there?
To the entrance. Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I'm there.
You're there. Okay. So you can come see Eric himself. We're at 2323. That's our booth number.
Awesome.
So AWFS 2323. You guys are 1601. So you're like right around the corner from us. You're not too far. But you can come check out the Schmalz booth. They're going to have a lift set up. Is that correct?
Yep.
So I know in the past I didn't want to put words in your mouth,
we'll
but
the booth will be a little smaller in Atlanta because the show is just a little bit smaller.
I'll say Atlanta's a big show, man.
But yeah, we'll have a bunch of lifters in there. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you down there. And of course, I'm going to Vegas. They have all the best gyms there, man.
Right. We're in Las Vegas, so exactly Las Vegas. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really highly recommend it. If you are going to Las Vegas for the show, stop by the Schmalz lift, demonstrate it. Yeah. Check it out, because like what I loved is I've walked by your guys' booth so many times when I'm down there to say hi, and there's always a customer in there running it. And they're just like, you could see the smile on their face. They're like, this is so easy, and I just love it.
It's funny you say that, Brandon, because a lot of times, let's say if we get distracted or we're out with customers and there's a lifter just kind of hovering.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody. Does anybody walk in your booth and just fire up a CNC?
No, they don't.
Well, they have no trouble walking in and just start grabbing sheets. And it's like, hold on, let me show you how to use that.
That's awesome.
Let me show you how to use that before you go gripping that.
Do you think your lift could pick Travis up by his head? Not Nick, Travis.
Oh, Travis.
Yeah, Travis from sales. Do you think we could? We're gonna have him in Vegas. Do you think like if we just bring him over, I can just?
What does Travis weigh? You think?
I don't know.
345.
I don't think he weighs that much. I don't know.
Jumbo Ergo 300 in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he weighs, but like
220.
I think it'd be cool to just hover Travis over the booth.
We could definitely do that. I'm not going to take any responsibility for what that thing is. He's about organs.
Even better yet,
Travis has no idea.
And you pick him up by his head and start swinging him, and then eventually let him go so he goes flying.
Oh,
We have so many requests to pick up people.
I can believe
crazy.
it. Hilarious. That would be a demonstration if you guys picked up one of your sales guys and just hovered them over the booth like Superman.
You know what? If this is going to be the last show in Vegas, or I don't know what's happening with the Vegas show. If they're going to move it, or if it's but
I know there's rumor that they're talking about moving it.
back to Anaheim. I heard
That's what I've heard. There's rumor.
and that was before my time. I never went to Anaheim,
But they built this new Vegas hall. So I don't know if it's ever leaving, to be
maybe
honest.
we should just have Travis come down on the last day and let's just do it.
Let's just try it, right? Yeah. We'll just hover Travis over there. Let's not tell Travis, though.
That'd make it great.
We just walk to the booth and we just pick him up.
I'll buy the attachment you have to design to make it happen because it'll be worth it.
For the record, we're joking. Do not use the lift to lift people.
When we leave, I'm walking out there as Travis with tape measure.
Yeah. Yeah, Travis will be like, yeah, we can
Get
make
some
this work.
dimensions on them.
Yeah, exactly. We'll
So
make
many
this work.
cups we can fit on.
Yeah, right.
And then
Travis can be
the last day of the show, you'll be like, remember those measurements we took? This is why. Here you go.
We'll have that on video for sure. But no, in all seriousness, like the lifts are really, really great for helping out in your shop. They improve the efficiency. They make it a much safer place. I know we're joking about lifting people. I can assure you that's not going to be the case. Your employees will not be doing that to each other because I have one here and it does not happen. They're built very
all the time.
they're built very purposeful. The way the cups are designed, they so easily attach to material and disconnect from material that you're not struggling. It's a really, really awesome setup. So if you want to see one, obviously we'll welcome you here at ShopSabre. You can tour our facility and you can check out ours. Or if you're going to be in Las Vegas at the end of this month, make sure you come visit us.
Check us out.
Yeah, like I said, either one of our booths. If you come to our booth, we'll point you in the right direction to get to them if you want to see it. I think in the future we may have to look at putting one in our booth for the show.
We should do that. We've been talking about it. But we really should. I mean, maybe we can do something if. Yeah, I would love to do like a joint booth where we do like have a vacuum lifter, or we have like maybe a little ShopSabre in our booth.
Right, that'd be a good idea. Yeah, we should in the future. We should find a way to do that because I think it's really good to see how they work together because they're such a perfect fit for every shop.
They even match.
They do. They match. Same colors.
I thought you were going to wear your blue polo today.
I get yelled at for wearing my blue polo on the show. They told me to wear this shirt, so that's what I'm wearing.
And I outgrew mine, so.
Oh, okay. I thought we were all going to match with the royal blue.
Yeah, I had to not match today because they wanted to tell that there's a guest. See?
Okay. But thanks for being such a good advocate for our product, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Well, I think it's just easy,
and it's been fun.
Yeah, it's so easy to advocate for a product you believe in.
Yeah.
I always tell that to people. Like, I don't sell anything I don't believe in.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't. And
yeah,
I'm a straight shooter. If I think your product's crap, like it's not going on my machine. It's that simple. And I just think we have some really good partners. We talked about Frost last week with tooling, and the right tooling makes your machine so much better. Well, the right way to material handle makes the shop so much more efficient. And an efficient shop tends to buy more machines. It's that simple. Like you're going to make more money. You're going to be more profitable. You're going to have the ability to add more equipment. And so for me, it's all about success for our customers, and you guys just make it easy on me. So I appreciate that. I think kind of the final takeaway is to no matter what you're doing in your shop, there's always ways to improve efficiencies, and a lot of things people look at are the easy wins. Right? It's the stuff where they're like, oh, I'm going to buy these bits, or I'm going to, pick up a better dust collection because then I don't have to clean up my shop as much. There's so many conversations we've had that are the obvious that you overlook something so simple. Yeah. And it's the vacuum, like you said, it's not the, hey, where's the ROI immediately, right? Like with a machine, like I'm going to cut my cutting time by 60%.
Right.
With a lift, people don't immediately understand their win.
Yeah.
But it's funny because as soon as they buy one, I want to finish with this. Like, when's the last time that you sold a lift and somebody was like, "Oh man, this didn't help us at all"?
Right? I don't think that's ever happened.
Right.
But what I love about the show is like doing the woodworking shows is I love hearing the feedback too from customers.
Right.
Even your operator out there on the floor, he was so appreciative of that lifter. Right. It's awesome to see. Look, it's fun to go in and help people, right? And to help them with their business. I think of it's like it's a huge privilege to be able to do that, to be invited into these plants and work with business owners and do this. So it's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And, kind of moves me into my motivational quote, because we like to finish every show with a little quote to keep people going. And today's quote is pretty simple. It's time will pass regardless of your effort. So make sure the time counts. And
I like that.
Yeah. And I just remind people that, because like we all have hard days, we have hard moments. And I hear so many people say it was a bad day, right? You hear people like, oh, I had a bad day today. No, you probably had a bad moment. You had a bad moment and you're letting it wreck your day, and I think a lot of it is we can get better as a company, as a family, as a person, as a friend. Everything you do in your life, you can get better by just looking at your small wins instead of looking at the small losses, right? And mindset is everything. And so like I remind people that, you're going to be at work for 8 hours today probably, right? Or longer. Some of you are 12, 16, whatever. That time's going to pass regardless of what you get done today.
Right.
And so making sure that time counts will help make tomorrow better and the next day better. And so I bring that up because CNCs are so efficient in the shop and they really help a business grow. Before you realize it, it's going to be 2026.
Yeah.
And when 2026 hits, are you going to be still sitting there going, man, I hope this year is better than last? Like, or are you going to make that happen? And that's where like CNC machines and upgrading your shop for efficiencies, adding lifts, doing things one step at a time moves you forward, that when you look back 5 years, you're going, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Like, what did we do to get to this point? Like, it's all the little efforts that you put in along the way and all the quote unquote bad days you had that really weren't that bad. You just had a customer who was having a bad day on their end.
Yeah.
Taken out on you. So are you really that bad of a person? No, you had a crabby person. Like they got cut off in traffic before you called them.
Yeah.
Right? Or you walked into their shop after their kid just got called, into the principal's office and he just got that phone call. Yeah. So it's like some days you walk into a shop and the energy isn't where you want it to be, but your energy doesn't have to change. And I remind people that because I'm, you as a customer, you're sitting there listening and maybe you lost the bid that you just did and you're really bummed about it, but you know what? That's good because it means you're one step closer to the next bid you're going to win.
Yeah.
And I have never met somebody who wins 100% of the time. Like I've never done it. And generally those who win 100% of the time are too conservative.
Gosh, it's hard to win 50%.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. But if you win 100%, you're just not trying enough. Because I put myself out there for everything I can and I'm going to lose more than I probably win.
Right.
Because that ultimately rejection is part of growth. And I think a big part of it is if you're not able to keep up with production, then what can you do to increase that? It's increase your efficiencies in your shop, whether it's loading time, cutting time, unloading time. Mm-hmm. There's so many solutions. It's just about finding the next step. Yeah. So I think I've covered most of it. Did I miss anything, Eric, that you wanted to share with the customers?
Gosh, no, I think we covered it all. I mean, did I talk a little bit? I mean, I think we talked a little bit about Raleigh. I just want to mention, we have 130 plus employees, 2 million in inventory. And when you come with Schmalz, I mean, you kind of get the whole gamut. You get the engineers, you get us.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
that's a good question. I want to touch on that real fast. Tech support.
Yeah.
If they need help.
Yeah.
Schmalz backs up their product, correct?
Do not call me. I will give you Dugan's number. Sorry,
there it is.
Shout out to Dugan. Dugan is so great. He's our main service guy, and he can troubleshoot so much stuff right over the phone.
That's awesome.
So
we Dugan sounds like our Ben.
Okay,
Ben's awesome here. Like same thing. You have a big problem. Not me. It's Ben. He's awesome. He's forgot more than I've learned.
He's a lifesaver.
No, without the Dugan and Bens of the world, we're in trouble.
I know we are in trouble.
Those guys are awesome. But I think
go ahead. Go on. I do have one question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know why the corners of a hockey rink are round?
Oh Lord.
No, why?
Because if they were 90 degrees, the ice would melt.
Jeez. Here we go.
He loved
there
it.
It is.
He loved it.
That is that's a good.
You were hoping I was going to talk about hockey.
I sure was.
You did get that in too.
I waited 52 and a half minutes for him to talk about hockey.
He was
didn't do
waiting.
it.
I told you. See?
At some point.
I told you because I talk about hockey a lot. My kid plays hockey, and I did not talk about hockey today. That's funny that you said that. So no, I like that one. That was a good one. I'm going to use that one on my kid.
I like it.
But yeah, I mean, to your point, like I said, service is really a big, important part of this whole process. And so, do you guys have a showroom and all? If people want to come check them out,
we do. Yep, down in Raleigh.
Cool, awesome. So there's
a lot of times people will fly out. They'll get their hands on equipment. They'll send product in. We'll test it for them.
Cool.
We'll shoot a video.
Awesome.
All kinds of stuff. So whatever it takes.
There it is.
If you build it, we will lift it.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that slogan.
It's a good one.
How can they check out your product? Where do they go?
Schmalz.com. We're on all the socials: Facebook, LinkedIn.
MySpace?
Damn it. Beat me to it.
Yeah.
No, not on MySpace. Okay.
No,
no
I
MySpace.
don't know. SCHMALZ.
There it is.
It's
Yeah. Say it one more time for people who weren't ready.
SCHMALZ.
There you go. So schmalz.com.
Schmalz.com.
There it is.
And
So
I'm guessing right about now we have a graphic behind us.
maybe.
Say that.
Yeah, they'll probably have a graphic somewhere in here saying it. The other thing that I want to say too is you can go to our website. We have some videos out there. You guys have some great videos. So you can check out, we have a video showing the Schmalz in action. So it's really awesome. But if you have questions, you just want to chat about lifts, you want to talk about a machine and a lift package, like we have all kinds of options. So make sure you give our sales team a call. They will help you out. So yeah, with that, I don't think I have anything else today. Nick, any other dad jokes for us before we go?
My limit is 1 a week, so we're good.
There you go. So we're good. So, as always, like I said, we appreciate you guys tuning in here. I'm Brandon.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Eric.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSabre.